Well, hello, all of my crafty friends. It's Kiona. I'm back again for our second month's video for Create and Inkspire. I hope that you guys have been enjoying this exclusive content that you guys can get over on the Create and Inkspire website. I will have the information listed below. Please make sure that you're going over, checking out all of the content and showing lots of love. There's a lot of wonderful things going on over there. So for this month's installation, I have gone into my design space and I have cut out tons of stuff. I've used lots of shimmery stuff. I'm using holographics and true brush vinyl. I've got tons of cardstock. I've got vellum. I have pulled out the gamut because I wanted to create another really fun interactive card for you guys. So I'm just showing you some of the elements that I have cut out here. I've cut out the word U and a shadow U. I wanted that to be really thick, so I cut that out 3 times each. I've cut out some little monkeys and I've cut out a vellum shadow layer for them. I've cut out a vellum shadow layer for my U. I've cut out these little triangle pieces. I didn't end up using those, but I'll show you what they were for in a little while. I've made some trees or tree branches, I guess would be what you would call it, out of shimmer paper and some true brush cardstock. And I have a lot of little circles here on this right side. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to work on gluing things together. So I'm going to bring you guys in with me a little bit closer so that you guys can see a little bit better what I'm creating. Now I have these bigger circles, I have some medium-sized circles, and then I have a whole lot of these small circles. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to divvy them up because I need them in half. I'm going to make 2 sets of circle stacks, and apparently I've lost one and I don't know where it went, but that's okay. I'm going to bring out my art glitter glue and I'm going to bring out my jewel picker because this circle is pretty tiny. So I have my jewel picker and I'm just going to make me a little space here and I'm going to start just stacking. I'm going to start with these first 2 and I'm just going to stack them on top of each other and make sure they are sitting on top of each other evenly. So every couple I'm going to pick it up and go all the way around it and make sure that they are all sitting on each other evenly and getting adhered very well. So we're going to do that and get all of those stacked up, and that's going to create a nice little disc for us. And we're going to need that disc for the interactive element. Now I know that there are some places that sell a little element that looks like this. However, if I can make it on my Cricut, I always challenge myself to do so because it's a money saver and I'm getting my money's worth out of that investment of the machine. So now I also have some hearts. You guys know I'm going to bring in my purple. I try sometimes, you guys, but I feel like, why should I fight the feeling? Like, have you ever had that thing that you really love to do and you try to fight yourself against doing it because maybe people don't want to see it so much, but it's really who I am. Like, I love my purple. So I'm going to stop fighting that feeling. And you guys just might have to see a little bit of purple. Just know that you can do it in any color that you want. You don't have to be a purple fanatic like me. But for me, purple is beautiful and it signifies royalty, and that's kind of how I like to think of myself. So I left a couple of those purple hearts around because I'm going to use those as kind of an embellishment in the end. And I'm going to move on to the shadow layer of this U. I'm going to stack that up 3 times. And then in addition to stacking that up 3 times, I also have a vellum layer that I'm going to place on the top of that. Now, usually I like for everything to look very chipboard-like, and I wanted this to be extra thick. I don't know what I was feeling that day. So not only do I have the shadow layer 3 layers thick, I also have the actual letters layer 3 layers thick. So I also have the actual U written out 3 times just in regular cardstock. And I think that this is that 100-pound Recollections cardstock that I usually purchase in the color white to use for things that I'm not ink blending, stamping, coloring, or doing any type of media on. So it works completely fine in my Cricut. I just cut on the craft board setting and it cuts through very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adhere those 3 together. And then I have some true brush vinyl. No. It wasn't True Brush vinyl. It was adhesive foil. It's the purple adhesive foil from Cricut. And I just think that if I had to say my favorite shade of purple, here it is right here. It's beautiful. It is amazing. And it's so much shimmer and so much shine. So I've also cut it out in that. And so you guys can see I'm going for like this purple goldish yellow theme. So that's kind of what we're going for throughout this entire card. So the U I'm going to have finished in this purple adhesive foil. And this was a pretty big sentiment, so I didn't really need to use my contact paper that I typically use to adhere this to the rest of the cardstock because it worked out fairly easily, just me picking it up. So now I'm going to bring in the parts to these little cute monkeys that I have cut out. So I've cut out their faces, I've cut out their body, I've cut out a shadow piece with the vellum, and then you're also going to see me bring in some holographic vinyl for the details of their face. So we're going to go ahead and get those glued on as well. So I'm going to glue in both of these. They are identical. And I do love the fact that with the Cricut, it has some little details that are cut into it. You can't really see it on the camera, but it's like their little hair and things like that on this brown layer. And it's really cute. It just gives a little bit of variation to it. And you could do all types of things. You could do some shading with your Copic markers, or with a glitter pen, or with something like that in order to bring that out. I thought that once we got done with this, it had a nice pop of variation. Now, I will tell you one thing that I would do differently is I would not have glued their hands down. You're going to see in a few minutes, I'm going to have to peel their hands back up. So if you want to make this, just take a word of advice and don't glue their hands down initially. So now here I'm going to bring in that contact paper. You guys know that I use that dollar store brand. I usually get it on Amazon because I can get it in bulk, but it's very cheap. It's about $5 for a roll that will last you for about 2 years at least, if you use it regularly like I do. And it is, like I said, my purple tape of vinyl. I will have that linked below. Now I'm going to take that holographic vinyl and I'm going to place it over the top of their faces. And this gives the detail of their faces as well as the insides of their ears. And again, you know, it gives that shimmer and shine and gives kind of that golden look. So now here is the place where I'm having to lift their hands back up because I forgot that I needed to put their hearts in their hands. It was fairly easy to do. I did rip the paper a little bit, but it wasn't too hard or too much of a hardship because this was that 100-pound paper. So it was still fairly thick and it wasn't going to be seen because the heart is going to sit right over it. But I really wanted it to look like the monkeys were holding these hearts. And so I needed for their hands to go over the top. And remember, I've glued 4 of these hearts together, so it is elevated. So it really does look like their hands are around it. And I really did like that very little bit of detail that was added by doing that. So once we have that done, we're going to now come in with our pieces of the trees. Now I wanted a couple different color variation with the trees. So I did kind of like this green, and then I did kind of a teal green type of color just to give some differences. I know that you probably won't see a teal color like this in nature, but hey, it is my card and this is what I was feeling. And so this is what we went with. So I brought in our card base. Now with our card base, I was initially going to use these triangles, and these are fine except for the fact that I wanted them to be able to swing better. So I've gone in and gotten this other piece that I also created in my file, and I've glued that together 4 times. No, actually, I glued it together 2 times. I glued it together twice so that it would be sturdy enough, and that's going to sit right over that stack of small circles that we adhered earlier. So what we're going to essentially do, that little circle piece with the line that's coming down is going to allow our element to move. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have something that's going to cover it up, and that's where these trees come in. So I'm going to glue the very top part of the green, and I'm going to glue that teal piece over the top of it, just slightly offset, probably about 1/3 of the way up, so that I have enough of the trees to cover all of my working mechanisms underneath. So once I have that done, now I'm ready to start gluing down my circles. So I'm going to take one of those medium circles from the beginning, and I'm going to glue that stack of circles in the center of that. Now then that medium circle is going to get glued down to my card base. I am not gluing down my mechanism. That mechanism is going to move freely, okay? Just like that. It is not going to get glued down. I'm going to do that again on the other side. I'm taking my medium circle, I'm gluing it down. Now I have these larger circles that I'm going to put over the top of my mechanism. That's going to keep my mechanism from coming away from the card. So it kind of gives a stop. It's freely moving, but it has a stopper that will not allow it to come out. So now I'm going to go again and see where I'm going to start placing foam tape. And I have to think about not obstructing the movement of my mechanism, but also ensuring that I have some place to go for it to go and hold on to my trees. So I'm doing very thin pieces of foam tape that have been doubled up, and I am just putting little slivers all over the place. I'm putting enough little slivers so that it can adhere well, but every time I put a piece down, I was checking to see where it moved as far as my mechanism piece. Now, hindsight, I would have probably glued my monkeys down before I put the top on, but I was being overzealous at this point. So this is why you see me gluing it down the way that I'm doing it. But all you would do at this point is glue a little piece, place a little bit of glue at the end of your mechanism to glue it onto the tail of the monkey. I did not like the way that this was looking with the foam tape showing, and you know, sometimes it's inevitable with these handmade cards, but because I doubled up my foam tape, I knew that I could finish that off. So wait just a second and I'm going to show you what I do to hide all of that. So now that I have my monkeys in place, I can go ahead and finish off my trees. So I brought out my little branch pieces and I'm trying to figure out where I want each of them to be placed, and the first part of my sentiment that says I'm bananas about, and then I have my you. So my sentiment is going to say I'm bananas about you. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of those elements glued on, and I'm gluing these flat because we have created a lot of dimension with the double up of the foam tape that we did initially. So our mechanism is moving very well. Now we are going to go ahead and glue down the first and the second part of our sentiment, and then I'm going to show you how I do a little bit of finishing work to make it look a little neater. You know, like I said again, this is all personal preference. I know that we know that these cards have moving pieces, and it's really okay if it's noticeable. I just didn't love it, and because I had a way to fix it, I decided to go ahead and do that. Now, when I was gluing down my sentiments, because there's not a lot of foam tape that is underneath, I was having to kind of press down to ensure that I got good adherence of my sentiment strip to the actual trees. And the same thing with the U. You're going to see that I flip that over and sit something on top of it so that I can make sure that it is adhered very well to begin with. So that's why you see that book right there. I have it sitting underneath the book. So now I've gone in with some more adhesive foil, and this is in gold, and I've cut out some bananas. So I'm going to take these bananas and I'm going to sprinkle them around the bottom portion of the card. I kind of want it to look like they're bananas falling from the tree. So kind of giving that thought that kind of coordinates with the idea that I'm bananas for you, you know, bananas, monkeys, I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying, right? I know you guys do. You guys kind of know my heart at this point, I feel like. So I'm going to take those. I'm working in the rule of threes like they told me to. However, when I did that bottom right corner still felt kind of empty to me, so I had to break the rule and do fours. And you know, realistically, do what you want to do. It still looks great to me. I think it looks good. You guys tell me what you think, 3 or 4. I say 4, so that's what I did. So now I'm going to glue down the actual U portion of the card. And again, I'm going to sit something on top of that so that I can get it to adhere down really, really well. While I'm waiting on that, I'm going to bring in the inside of my card and I'm going to start working on that. And so I've had the Cricut write, "Thank you for being an amazing friend." And this is the Cinnamon Swirls font in Design Space. I'm going to take those last couple of bananas and those few hearts that I left, and I'm going to sprinkle those down the right side, working in the rule of odds this time. And then I'm going to bring in one of my card bases. So as you guys can see, I've cut my little guide marks into my purple shimmer cardstock. And then I am also going to put that onto a piece of pearl paper. So we have a lot of shimmer going on with this card. So you see, this is my shimmer cardstock, which is the purple. And then this is that Pearlescent, that pearl paper from Cricut. It's a pearlescent finish. And I don't believe they sell it anymore, but I have tons of it because when I really like something, I usually buy stock in it so that I can never be without it. So now I'm having to try to hoard it. So now to finish off that piece, I decided to bring in a piece of that shimmer paper. This is the same shimmer paper that I used for the actual trees, and I'm going to cut 1/4 inch from that. And that is just enough to fit all the way around the inside of this card. So wherever I have the foam tape, I'm going to use my art glitter glue to adhere this going all the way around all 3 edges. And I will then sit it and let it adhere very well. And I love the way that that finishes it off. And once that is stuck very well, I will bring in my shears and I will snip off that last piece, and that will give us a finish to the foam tape of this card. I like the way that looked much better. And like I said, because the foam tape was doubled up, it was just enough space for 1/4 inch piece of cardstock to go all the way around it. So now that we have that done, I can adhere the front of our card to our card base, and then we are pretty much getting toward the end of our card. So I'm working my mechanism here just to kind of get it to the point where it is moving freely, and then we are going to work on our card base. So here we go. We've got our card base, and I'm working on a black card base that is made of 100-pound Recollections cardstock. I'm going to glue that to the card base, the front of our card, and then I'm going to glue in the inside of our card. Once I get the inside and the outside glued together, we are pretty well done. I'm going to give that another swing to try to get it to the point where it is moving more freely and knowing where it is supposed to be going. And there we go. I really love the way that this came out. I hope that you guys enjoyed it too. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our Create and Inkspire family. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I will be looking for your comments, and I will